Good evening, everybody. I'm really glad to be here, not least of all because everyone keeps telling me how happy they are to meet a genuine Chinese gentleman. Well, now, Hong Kong is actually 7 hours ahead of the UK. So right now, my body is telling me to get some sleep, and I agree. But I have a presentation to do, and actually I wouldn't be up here making much of a presentation if I hadn't downed a really big cup of strong coffee an hour ago. Now, it's very fascinating how certain beverages can have the ability to keep us awake or energize us, such as tea and coffee. And it's because both of these beverages contain a chemical called caffeine. Now, caffeine is interesting because you find it in places you won't expect. You'll find it in chocolate, colas, energy drinks, diet pills, certain medications, painkillers, and so on. So at the end of the day, you are consuming more caffeine than you are aware of, which is why I believe it's important to understand how it works, and more importantly, why it stops working after a while. So let's start by taking a quick look at what makes us feel sleepy in the first place. See, our body produces a chemical called adenosine. And adenosine binds with special receptors in our brain cells, and it slows them down. And that's what makes us feel sleepy and tired, and so on. Now, caffeine happens to be in the same chemical family as adenosine. In fact, they're like cousins. They have a very similar shape. So caffeine steals adenosine's spot on the receptor. And now, while it's like this, adenosine can't bind with the receptor. It's effectively blocked. And if it can't bind, it can't make you feel sleepy, and you get a few extra hours to cram at night. Now, this effect continues until caffeine molecule eventually disengages and adenosine takes over once more. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have experience with tea and coffee, and I'm sure a lot of you are regular drinkers, British, that reputation and all. But, but the fact is, if you do drink coffee or tea regularly, you won't find these effects to be so significant. In fact, you may not feel them at all. I know people who can drink coffee after dinner and fall asleep without any difficulty. And that's because you develop what's called caffeine tolerance. In order to counteract the effects of caffeine, your brain cells grow more adenosine receptors. And in order to get the same effect, you need to consume more caffeine to block these extra receptors. So a single cup of tea will, over time, lose its effectiveness. But don't worry, if you stop taking anything caffeinated for a while, the process will naturally reverse itself. But for those of you who feel you really can't get up in the morning without a cup of tea, here's something interesting. See, caffeine takes around 30 to 60 minutes to really get into your system and start working. So if you drink a cup of tea and you feel refreshed and active, well, it's not the caffeine that's doing it. It's your mind. Thank you.